How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I'm going to go and do a contract called Helping the Fisherman. It's basically you got to go and take six lots of consumables, so it's not too bad, and it was a good excuse on this mission to take this Mack defense out, which was it last season? I think we got it, but long story short, they've fixed kind of the hitboxes, the axles were catching on a lot of stuff, which they've fixed it now, and yeah, I wanted to go and see how it handled. The mission, so I've got to go over to that factory to get the consumables. You've got to take a generator there, but I already have on a previous mission, and I already crafted some. And then yeah, you've got different different fishermen's houses that you've got to drop one or two lots off. You need 6 lots in total, so hence why I've got like a sideboard and a ramped flatbed. If there's only 5, I probably would have gone like the step deck route or something, but yeah, I was looking through, again to be honest, I probably wasted a good 2 hours, really, not directly like sitting here 100% focused, but just like flicking through all the different contracts and kind of not really getting anywhere with like, which one do I want to start first. I narrowed one down. I can't even remember, there was quite a few. Oh yeah, I've got to craft some cabins and stuff. I wanted to do that one, but I knew I was pushing it a bit for time by this point. And I also didn't want to pick a massive mission just in case this Mack defense was like a little bit sketchy about handling it. So yeah, in the end this kind of seemed like a good compromise to take this thing out. And I have to say, obviously driving along now it wouldn't really make any difference. It's a nice little trailer drift around there though, we didn't hit the wall. Yeah, driving along the road, like, you wouldn't really notice any difference at the minute, but I certainly do think I've had a few little goes in this now, and yeah, I do think they have officially fixed the axles. I think it's actually quite a nice truck in some ways now. Still, probably like a bit more power than that, but we'll get to that. Yeah, you need a generator, so you can see like I've got it sort of behind me. If you haven't already crafted the cargo, I'd have to disconnect the trailer now, go over to the generator, connect that, just turn it on, and so on. When I was originally here, I just crafted enough, at least I hope, consumables, metal beams and metal rolls as well, because they're actually very cheap on the fuel for whatever reason. Normally they charge us about like 150, 200 fuel per one, which still doesn't matter. I just at that point wouldn't probably go to the, I probably wouldn't just craft a load of stuff, because I'd just keep the fuel there and then craft what I need as I need it. But the fact that it was so cheap, I just crafted like a bit of everything really. So yeah, I didn't have to faff around with the generator, so I certainly recommend that, generally speaking, if you are at any of these places with the generator and the stuff's pretty cheap. And then yeah, I was kind of figuring, there's a road leading out kind of the back of this little factory place I'm leaving. They've put some cargo containers in the way that you'd have to snake round. Nothing too bad, but the reason I wanted to go this way in the end was this first fisherman's house. The way I drive up to it, I kind of wanted to be facing this way essentially, rather than if I did the other road I would have been facing the opposite way. And I need to cross this river on my left soon, but I know which way the current's going, which as we're sort of looking at it now, it's going to be going from the right side of the screen to the left. So yeah, I want to cut through the river with like where I'm kind of going with the current, whereas if I was facing the other way, I'd just end up, yeah, not well, for a start I'd probably end up on that island and have to hop over again, but it just worked out better going this way. Noticed 1 or 2 little glitches tonight. Yeah, I ran that tree over for what it's worth. I was just curious in the end. I was going to drive around it and then I thought, is it an immovable tree? But it wasn't. Yeah, this is the first location. To be honest, the only awkward thing about it, it's not the mission's fault specifically. It's this bloody trailer. That's what I already knew driving up here. And what I originally wanted to do was drop 2 consumables off the trailer. I took the chance, and it ended up taking the 2 off my truck. If you wanted to get around that, the way you could do it is basically, if I unpacked the loaf in this case, because I've got a goddamn horse on me, disconnected the trailer, unpacked the cargo on my truck, then reconnected the trailer and then did the mission, it'd cache the ones in on the trailer. So I'm just throwing that out there. I just took the chance, and then once I pressed the button, I kind of thought, well, I don't know, I've got a 2 in 6 chance that it's going to take the ones on the sideboard, and yeah, that's exactly what it did. And then you can see now, this is why, just if the yellow square next to this cabin was like nearer the road, it'd be nicer for the purposes of sort of sweeping in, but yeah, it sort of forces you to have to drive down to it, and it's reversing this trailer that I knew would be a bit of a beast. It'd be nice, to be honest, if they, yeah, Fox's trailer pack, he's got like axle locks on this, so you can lock the axle, and it makes reversing it a hell of a lot closer to like reversing a semi-trailer. And really, they should put that feature like officially into the game, really, because they're just an absolute nightmare to reverse. Now, I've even to the point, I've seen multiple YouTube videos now of people reversing these trailers just to confirm to myself that they're not actually guaranteed to be basically impossible to reverse. It's just, in this game, the way stuff digs into the terrain and like gets stuck in the grooves that you've driven in the road or whatever, it just sits in its own, like, I don't know, the terrain, and it doesn't turn how you'd want it to. There's too much like resistance pushing from the back. That's what she said. Yeah, and it just forces you to, like, the dolly axle just like starts rotating, tucking under its own trailer, and it all goes wrong. Yeah, you can see now, pretty happy with my choice. I like crossing the rivers. Might be pretty sure it's going to be the thumbnail. But yeah, like, just moving back up the map a tiny bit, so at least I could kind of go against the current, and then at this point I actually chose a bit that was a pretty narrow crossing on the river. Technically, yeah, I kind of ended up going this way, because once I knew that the truck wasn't going to drown, it didn't really matter if I jumped to that island. Well, not the island, but you see what I mean in the background, like, much narrower section. But yeah, definitely worked out pretty nicely. That's 2 down, and then now I'm going to basically follow, not the road, but you can sort of tell on the map, there might be these little tracks at the minute, but you can just kind of tell on the map there's enough of an opening driving along that you can weave through the trees. And yeah, as well, happy Halloween, since it's like, I can't believe it's already Halloween. It's pretty insane. Doesn't feel like it too much. I did earlier watch at the stroke of midnight. It's just become like a tradition for whatever reason for the last few years. I watched The Exorcist. Yeah, put it on at the stroke of midnight exactly. Yeah. Pitch black, on my own. And yeah, it's not as scary as it used to be. That film did used to absolutely terrify me, and that's basically why it became a tradition to watch it. I finally got over it on my 30th. Well, not my 30th, sorry, like, I think when I was 30 that year, I got The Exorcist and watched it. It scared the shit out of me since I was about 10 years old. And do you know what's funny afterwards? I know, like, I'm not saying it is this or anything, it's just funny to sort of try and scare myself a bit anyway. But there's 2 things actually. One, I mean, it's not anything amazing, but it was better than nothing. Yeah, at some point I was watching like The Exorcist, and it was near the end, and I went to the toilet, and when I came back, it was the bit where the girl hugs like the younger priest guy that survives and everything, and she says thanks, whatever, and then jumps in the car, and the subtitles came up on the screen saying "Get out," and then it had in brackets "Damien breathes heavily." And yeah, I thought for a minute, I was like, oh, like, is that some kind of like hidden thing in the film? Not hidden, but I thought, oh, maybe because I got the subtitles on, like, did I miss something? But yeah, it turns out all the subtitles went weird on the film, and it kept quoting different parts of the film, and every now and then I couldn't even take a screenshot or picture or whatever because my phone was saying memory's too full to even let me use the camera. Yeah, it kept doing like weird quotes from the film on other parts of the film. So even though like they were talking, the subtitles were, yeah, or whether they were not talking, it was just randomly picking sentences out of the film. But yeah, it was quite funny, some of the places they sort of fit in and like the things it was saying. But then the other thing was that was creepy but funny. I know it wasn't anything actually like, yeah, all the noises except for one would make sense. It was either my cat breathing and squeaking while he was asleep, or it was the pipes in my walls, kind of like if some water was moving. There was something that was going like, but that's a terrible impression. It sounded like a 10-year-old girl sort of doing some like creepy exorcist, yeah, like about ready to see the Ring girl start crawling around the corner. Because when I'm in when I'm in here, like whether it's TV or usually doing something SnowRunner related, my living room door is like just over my left shoulder, so it's definitely, it's one of them, especially when if I've got a headset on or whatever doing this. Every now and then you can get the feeling like something's about to run up behind me and grab me. But again, I like winding myself up really with that kind of thought. But yeah, talk about perfect timing. Like I was literally, and that was like near the end of The Exorcist as well. It was about 5 minutes, if that, after I noticed the subtitles were being all weird. And then yeah, some noise from. Again, the cat was sat near me. There was at least one time it did it where it's like, sure, that was too loud for a cat. But yeah, anyway, that did freak me out in quite an enjoyable way for a few minutes at, I don't know, 2, half 2 in the morning by that point, however long the film is. Yeah. And then I was trying to think, because it was Halloween, I was sort of thinking earlier of some, have I got any more random things that happened to me or anything? And there's one I remember I was talking to my sister the other month about that I believe it for a couple of reasons, but mainly I certainly don't think she makes stuff like this up or anything, and secondly, she legitimately didn't want to be in the house alone after this. But the house, funnily enough, it's the same house where I promise I am more sane than this sounds, but for something that I heard before, where like there was a black shadow just on the wall walking behind the sofa, and me and my mum both seen it, so I know I wasn't hallucinating. Yeah, don't know what the hell it is, but I seen it, it happened. Yeah, can't explain it. It was that same house though. It just, someone mentioned as well, like something about the Isle of Man the other day. And yeah, like me and my sister, our dad died racing in the Isle of Man in the TT like years ago. And this also happened years ago. But we ended up living in the house that for a short while that he owned when he died. And it was this same house, that's where I seen the shadow and everything. Yeah, that was like a few years after. And I think a year or two after that, I'd moved out by this point, and my sister still lived there. And when she was she was in the house on her own, and the TV room, the Sky remote is called, like, I don't know what you call it in different parts of the world, but cable, satellite, whatever it is. Over here we just call it like Sky TV or whatever. Yeah, the buttons got typed in on the remote, and she's seen it, and again, I believe it because of how freaked out she was for like years. It probably still is, well, she still is when she talks about it. She's seen the buttons get typed in on the remote, and the channel changed to, I think it's called ITV4 over here. Long story short, it was the TT, and she was, yeah, in the house that he used to live in on her own. And yeah. And again, I do believe it. I'm not saying it is what it, could imply, but it's weird. And when I lived where I moved out as well, it wasn't the same year. I think it was the year afterwards. I didn't see any like numbers, nothing like that. And I was watching the TV at the time, so that didn't happen. But my TV also changed to the TT one year without, like, I didn't set a reminder or anything. But yeah, she actually said she saw the buttons, like the numbers get typed in, 3 numbers. And it was to the channel where the TT was on, which, yeah, was pretty weird. And it was TT related. And it's Halloween, so thought we'd, yeah, thought I'd mention that. I don't know if I've mentioned that one before. But anyway, yeah, that's the mission done. I was kind of rambling on a bit. Overall, pretty sort of easy mission, but quite a nice one, to be honest. A good excuse to cross the river and all that. Yeah, the Mack defense actually feels pretty nice now. I think it could do with a little bit more power, but it's just a little bit slow in sort of delivering it, to be honest. But once it's wound up, it's not too brutal in getting into high gear and all the rest of it. So yeah, overall it actually feels like a nice truck now. You can certainly, especially on this map really, there's enough highway-esque roads going on as well that you won't even have to push your luck too much. But yeah, I was towing a trailer and all the rest of it. Again, felt a little bit slow in giving the power every now and then, but overall, not too bad. But yeah, that's about it for today, though. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a loaf because this is a goddamn beast, and I'll be back soon.